All right, let's do this. This is what we have seen last time. We have EC2, which is nothing but your infrastructure as a service. I said there are three types of cloud. Can you hear me now? Okay. So three types of service models. One is infrastructure as a service. Okay. And the second thing is platform as a service. The third one is software as a service. So three service model we have seen, and the EC2 is a good example for infrastructure as a service because you rent the machine that you are running. Okay. Then you also rent the storage drive. So when I say storage, here the storage is treated like a C drive, or the storage could be your root volume in a Linux, equivalent to that, right? So then we create something called elastic load balancer. I hope that you know the concept of load balancing. If you want to distribute that traffic to multiple web servers, we use something called load balancer, right? So we use something very similar to that. Here it's called elastic. Automatically it scales up, scales down, depends on the incoming requests. Then, so we can also spin up something called auto scaling group. So there were two different type of scaling. If you could remember, one is the vertical scaling, another one is horizontal scaling. Okay. The vertical scaling is adding more CPU, memory, right? In terms of horizontal scaling, add more machines, instances. It's that's what's it. So here, the auto scaling, what we talk about, will add and more instances the moment there's a huge demand. Okay, so we call that as ASG, auto scaling groups. Right. The next is the sizing and configuration options. So what are the options that you have? If you can remember, if I can bring up the AWS console, let me just quickly log in the console while you see this one, read it. So there are 7 different steps when you create a EC2 machine. Step 1 to 7, right? And you can see on each of it, you will start choosing different one. First, you will choose AMI, Amazon Machine Image. So once you complete that, the second one, what you'll choose is an instance type. So after completing the instance type, third, you'll go and do some configuration where you'll choose your network settings, right? Then you'll add a storage. So once you add a storage, then you'll add some tags and security groups that finally you'll review and launch an EC2 instance. Okay, I'm going to show that quickly. Let me log into my account while do that. I'm entering my credential in the other window. That's why I'm not able to see. Right. So this is my console, right? I go to EC2. Then in the EC2, I go and launch an instance. When I go and launch an instance, I have to choose an Amazon Machine Image. Okay. So the second, choose an instance type. Okay. So third, configure some network storage option, configure some storage option, sorry, and then add some tags, then configure a security group. And number 7 is review and launch your instance. Okay, these are the options you have to choose. So the same thing is explained over here as well. Okay. Let's talk about the sizing and configuration options. What are the different options that you will normally get, right? So one is choose your operating system. So what is your operating system, right? Linux, Windows, or Mac. So how do you virtual CPUs? This is called VP CPUs, right? VP CPU, nothing but virtual cores. So how many virtual CPUs that you need, and how much RAM that you require? 12 GB, 16 GB, 32 GB, right? And then you need to ask like what kind of storage that you need. Need storage within this server, which would act like your boot volume, or you can also create your network mounts, which is a EFS, right? So then you can create something called your network card, public IP address, which are kind of a hardware, right? Which provide you IPs and everything. You set your virtual firewall rules in a security group. Then you can create something called a bootstrap script. So let's understand what's a bootstrap script. The bootstrap script is nothing but a script which will execute once the machine is up and started running. Okay, this bootstrap script is helpful to add any additional softwares, any configuration that you need as soon as the computer starts, the machine starts, or the server starts, right? So that's where you'll go and configure this one. So obviously, whenever you want to do some extra additional software installations or any configuration changes via script, so you have to go and do that using a bootstrap script. Okay. So next one is how this user data is going to help me, right? Give some examples, right? I just talked about it. A couple of examples is installing some updates, installing a software, download some common files and keep ready in your local, and anything else, any other customization you would like to do, right? So where you go to the EC2 user data and create the script over there, right? So I'm going to do one more time a quick approach on how to create an EC2 instance running on the Linux machine. Right? Launch instance. So once you launch instance, the first step is to choose your Amazon machine image, which is equivalent to your operating system and other softwares bundled in it, right? I'm going to choose Amazon Linux 2. Then the second one is to choose an instance type, which we talked about different instance families, what we have uh, known. And this one, I'm going to create only a free tier eligible machine. Okay. The third option is to choose your network, number of instances, and your public IP. So by default enable, I'm going to leave it as default one. I'm going to the next one. Step number 4, add a storage. Here, a root storage has been added. The storage is having a size of 8 GB bytes and is having a volume type of SSD, right? The highest IOPS you'll get is around 3000 when you burst up, but normally you'll get around 100 IOPS. IOPS is nothing but input output per second. The ability to read, write at the same time per second is called IOPS. So I'm going to review and launch it. I did not make any major changes, including your security group, everything. I left all the options there. Now I click on launch. While clicking on the launch, it's asking me for an key pair. A key pair is for SSH login, where if you want to log into EC2 instances, you need this key pair. Without that, you cannot log in. And this key pair has to be created or associated only at the time of instance creation. So after you create the instance, there is no way you can go back and map it back. So all you have to do at this place. So I'm going to use a key pair, which is already there, or I will create a new key pair for this instance right now. Okay, let's say demo 200. I'm downloading the key pair. So it downloads a private key for me in my local. Then I click on launch instances. So these instances is up and running now. Okay, so you can see That instance is up and running. It's got a public IP, right? And the state is pending. The moment you see a state pending means it's just starting. Okay. So that's a demo. So simple, within 2 minutes, you can spin up a server and bring it on, right? So we have seen that earlier. Now let's go back and look at the other little types of it. So what are the different types of instance types? Just give me a minute. Vishal, can you hear me? I just need a quick help from you.
Yeah, I can indeed. Yes.
Okay. So Vishal, last time when we had the classes, can you remember like what are the topics has been covered in the last class?
Uh, I wasn't present in the previous one, previous to previous when you had started, right? So
Okay.
I was there. Yes. So it was the introduction about AWS and stuff.
Right. So you're happy if I go to basics of EC2 and proceed
That
further,
would be
right? Because
fine. Yes. Yeah, that would be fine.
okay, and I just wanted to ensure that we are on page. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Because
Thank you.
I'm again revising these topics, but I just wanted to ensure that everybody is on page. Okay.
Right. Okay. Cool.
Thank you. Right. So instance types, right? Instance type is about a computer, right? A computer, what different type of machine that you can rent. So instance type also help you to choose a perfect machine for a purpose, right? You always relate to a use case for what use case and what machine that I'll use. I'll give you a link which will happen, or you can go and search this link, right? Go to your browser, type aws.amazon.com slash EC2 slash instance hyphen type. Okay, I'll give you the link, the chat box here. This single page will help you, or you can use it as a reference page to understand what type of machine I need to go and rent it out, the purchase option, right? So here you see some options, general purpose. A general purpose machine is nothing but a machine where you use a regular workloads, right? What's your regular workloads? Look at this, developing, testing, or Mac OS, iOS, if you want to run any application, any normal workload, probably your development machines can be of this type, right? For a normal workloads, right? So that's your general purpose. The general purpose machines of these types, and you can see you also have a Mac instances available here. Okay. Not only that, you also have the other different different generation of machines available. If I just can remove my animation, click on this one, you can see T4G is the most recent one. They are powered by ARM-based Graviton 2 processor, right? And they provide 40% better price performance over the P3 instances. So every time the new generation comes in, if they will be adding it there, and they'll tell you how it is better than the previous generation. So what we have chosen for that example is P2 Micro. Okay, so now the latest generation on P series is P4G instances, which are powered by the Graviton 2 processor, which are 40% better price performance both. Right. So then let's look at compute optimized. This is the second type. And compute optimized is for something where you need a lot of processing power. Example could be your high performing computing, high performance computing, then video processing, then yes, here should be here, right? Analytics and machine learning, you need enormous power to process. So for that, if you see these machines, they literally have a very good processing. Number of CPU is higher, and they are optimized to provide you a very good computing capability. The third one is a memory optimized. Memory optimized, by the name you can see, whenever there is any application that you are running which uses in-memory databases or caches, that something like that, those machines you can go and purchase some memory optimized machines, which normally starts with R. The recent ones starts with R. Good example is your in-memory databases, Redis, or like in Spark, which all running in memory, right? So to run those kind of applications, you have to use a memory intensive, memory intensive machine. That's what memory optimized. The fourth one is accelerated computing. So you need a really high computing power, something like an autonomous vehicles, right? So the vehicles will detect each object coming in and find out, should I drive straight up or make a halt, or should I apply brake, or should I take a deviation? So all these things should happen in real time. For this kind of work, you need a really high performing machines. That's what we call as an accelerated computing, right? Example as again, HPCs, seismic analysis, speech recognition, and autonomous vehicles and drug discovery. Okay, so especially with the COVID-19 pandemic time, normally a drug used to take 8 to 12 years of time to come into market. From the time they have started discovering that drug and to come to the market, it takes 12 years, right? But if you could see, since the pandemic has started, they were able to bring up the entire process within a year, right? They were able to bring it, although it's an emergency use, they were able to bring the entire drug up and done, tested, and bring it on to the within a year, mainly because our capability has been increased a lot. The amount of data you can process using drug discovery models are really great. So that's why it's a good example. Remember, whenever you see accelerated computing, remember the time we are in, so you can relate easily. Okay, the fourth one is the storage optimized. So any of this application where you need to have very big storage. Example is a MongoDB. MongoDB is actually handles in documents. It's a huge data. It will be searched across. You need a high throughput. When I say high throughput, the input output per second has to be really high, right? So there we provide something called storage optimized. So I have to tell you, so storage optimized uses a hard disk, right? Normally that we use HDD, hard disk drives, right? Later we came SSDs, solid state drive, SSDs, right? So of recently, you can see many laptops which are having something like NVMe. Okay, so what is NVMe? It's non-volatile memory express SSDs. Very recently, if you're purchasing a laptop, you can see this option coming in. These non-volatile memory express provides you a very high IOPS. Okay, that's the reason. So all storage optimized instances will contain these hard disks, which provides you a great IOPS. Okay, so here, if you example, if you see the NoSQL databases, normally a place where you need to store a large data and search it across data warehouses, Elasticsearch, or your analytic workloads, this can be used via storage optimized machines. Okay, so these are the basic instance family types you need to be aware, because very important, there will be a lot of questions will be coming in if you are taking the examination for solution architect associate, which will be related to the instance type that you will be choosing. Minimum, I guarantee there will be 2 or 3 questions which could be related to this. Okay, so just go through the page which I gave you, understand what are the use cases. You don't have to remember all the names, but it's a good practice if you just go and see what are the latest, what I call the latest generation of machines on each of it, right? Here you see I3 is the latest. So something starts with I means IOPS, input output. For memory optimized, R6G is the latest one. And compute optimized, you can see they are starting with C, right? And accelerated computing starts with performance P. So just remember these names. I think it's going to help when you are trying to answer the questions in the examination. So use this page extensively to to understand more about these instance type. But whenever we use the instance type in demo, we'll be using only T2 micro, because this is the free tier eligible, where you will not be charged much if you use this type, right? If you have any question, please let me know. I'll move to the next section. Okay, so far what we have seen is, we have seen instance type overview, okay? I will ask the team to share this presentations with you later. But again, the same thing what we are looking at: general purpose, compute optimized, memory optimized, storage optimized, right? And the examples are given for the, if you are taking any instance type where you'll see as a T2 micro that we use, which is having one virtual CPUs, 1 GB memory, right? And it's only the EVS only storage mode. Okay.